Hi guys, it's Danielle from Electrolysis Beauty Lounge in West Orange, New Jersey. And on today's segment of At the Root of It, we're going to discuss a little bit more about laser, how it compares to electrolysis, and some of the risks, the benefits, so on and so forth. So let's start by talking about, a lot of people confuse electrolysis and laser for many reasons. One, the laser industry isn't being very honest about what it can actually perform and what it's legally allowed to make claims that it can perform. The electrolysis industry is not doing enough to promote itself. A lot of doctors, like dermatologists, endocrinologists, gynecologists, they're not discussing electrolysis as an option for people who come to them with hormonal disorders that cause hirsutism, which is male patterned hair growth, face, neck, chest, breasts, right? But starting from the beginning, laser is not permanent hair removal. It is permanent hair reduction. It is the only thing that they are legally allowed to claim. And they get around that by stating that laser is permanent, that when you're done with your treatments, you'll only need touch-ups here and there, right? Well, if you need touch-ups here and there forever, then something isn't permanent, right? When you go and get waxed, you need to be re-waxed over and over again. When you go and get threaded, you need to be re-threaded over and over again. When you go to get laser, you need to be re-lasered over and over again. When you go to get electrolysis, if you stick to your prescribed treatment plan, in 24 months, for some 3 years, depending on the area, you will not have to go anymore, right? It is not a sustainable business, meaning you are my client, and one day, as long as you no longer have a new area to treat, you will not be my client anymore because I did my job, which means that electrolysis is the only method of permanent hair removal. Let's talk about how they work. So laser, as many people know, uses a wand, right? And they use a wand in a certain area on your body. The wand is never like a pinpoint, right? It's pretty wide. Sometimes, it's maybe only a quarter size in diameter, but you will always get a minimum of that entire surface area being treated, right? Which means that it can never target just a singular hair at any given time. Using that wand, a light is administered onto the area, and that light is dependent upon foreground and background contrast, meaning it needs to be able to differentiate between the color of your skin and the color of your hair. And by defining the differences between the two, it is able to target, in most cases, the darker of the two. We'll get to darker skin with darker hair in a bit, but it can target the darkest hair, the darker of the two rather, and when it targets that, it pulses with the light, and that light damages the hair follicle, right? It damages it, which means that it slows it down. It hurts those hairs so much that it does in fact release the hair that is attached to it. And eventually that hair will fall out, for many, not for all. Again, we'll talk about that. But that is the ultimate premise of laser hair removal. However, in time, well, they say that you need to come 6 to 12 treatments initially. And then after that, they say you'll have to come about once every, I don't know, making this up, 6 months to a year, depending on the individual, until your hair goes away, poof. I only know 2 people that told me they got laser and it never came back. And that was never on their face. It was always in areas that was away from hormonal areas like their face, their underarms, their bikini area, their groin area. But needless to say, because that that follicle is not being destroyed, but in fact just being damaged, the body regenerates itself, it heals itself, and it is able to produce that hair. Again, it's going to be thinner, it might be smaller, it might be a lot of different things, right? It may be the same, but that hair will eventually come back. Electrolysis, on the other hand, uses a pen-like apparatus. So imagine a pen, and at the end of that pen is a very tiny needle, and that needle is never larger than the size of the hair being treated. And an electrologist inserts that needle, that probe is what it's called, into the base of each individual hair follicle. And when it does that, it administers a current using one of three modalities to destroy the components necessary for a new hair to grow, which means it doesn't just damage the follicle, it destroys the papilla, which is the blood source, and it destroys the hair growth cells necessary for a new hair to be generated. So that's what happens, right? Is you have all these hair growth cells at the base of your follicles. Everybody is born with a finite number of follicles, thousands and thousands and thousands of hair follicles, but a finite number. You don't get new ones as you get older, as you grow up, right? You're born with them. Some turn into terminal, right? Terminal hair, like the hair in your head, the hair in your underarms during puberty, and your groin, the hair in your legs turn a little darker, right? That is terminal hair. But the other hair that stays soft and stays smooth is called vellus hair, or what we know, many people know rather, as peach fuzz. But all of those hairs and all of those follicles are established. Some follicles stay dormant your entire life and never produce a hair. Other follicles only ever produce those vellus peach fuzz hairs. And then other follicles will always and forever produce terminal hairs unless you destroy the components necessary for those hairs to regenerate, right? And those hairs regenerate because of a growth cycle. They grow, they rest, and they shed. It's just like the hair on your head. When you're brushing your hair and people say it's good, your hair should shed, right? A certain amount of hair comes out every time you brush. It's the same as the rest of your body, right? Your body sheds hair so that new hairs can come in and regenerate, or regenerated rather, and they can grow. That said, electrolysis, because it destroys those components, once an electrologist does their job, that hair is gone. It's gone forever. Period. The FDA says that only electrolysis is a permanent method of hair removal. The FDA says that laser is a method of permanent hair reduction. Reduction, removal, right? You can reduce hair, but it's never gone. You remove the hair, it's gone. That is the primary difference between electrolysis and laser when it comes to end results, right? There are different ways in which they're administered. There are different risks and such of each. But what you will get to in the end are two different results holistically. Another big difference, remember I discussed that laser is reliant upon foreground and background contrast, which means that if there isn't enough contrast, laser can't tell the difference between the hair and the skin, and so therefore there's a risk of burn because it'll get to the skin and target that instead of bypassing it and reaching something that's supposed to be darker, right? Like a gray hair or a blonde hair or without any pigment or a red hair, right? Which is why laser can't treat those three. In some cases, blonde can be treated if there's some pigment, and there are lasers out there that are much better at targeting your blonde hairs, like an alexandrite, and most specifically, actually, an ND-YAG laser is your best one for that. But again, holistically, laser can't, still to this day, laser cannot treat gray nor red hair. Electrolysis does not have those limits. As long as an electrologist can see the hair, it can treat it. We can treat it. We can treat it gray hair. We can treat blonde hair. It doesn't matter how blonde. It doesn't matter how white. It doesn't matter how gray. It doesn't matter how red. It doesn't matter how black or how brown or how thick or how thin or how short or how long. It doesn't matter how curly or how straight. Electrolysis can treat each and every single last one of those types of hairs and remove it permanently. Tell that to somebody. But what else? What's important to know about laser that they're not telling you? There is a contraindication of laser hair removal, meaning there is a thing that happens that you don't want to happen for some people when you get laser hair removal. And it's called paradoxical hypertrichosis. Look it up. Paradoxical hypertrichosis, right? It is when there is new hair growth in areas where there wasn't previously terminal hair growth. I talked about vellus hair earlier versus terminal hair. We're talking, there were hairs that were just peach fuzz that have now turned into terminal hairs because of laser. And laser is denying it. The laser industry is not admitting it out loud. Some don't even know. Other people are just straight flat out ignoring the fact that it is possible, but if they put in the studies necessary in order to learn these things, that they may in fact find out it's true. And if it is true for, let's just say 10% of the population, which it's actually true for more than that, and I'll explain why in a minute. Can you imagine what a 10% dent in the laser industry's annual gross income is? Paradoxical hypertrichosis. Why does this happen? Laser is used for many things. Lasers comes in different lights, right? Different colors of lights, different intensities of lights, different wavelengths of light. And depending on the combination, laser can also induce hair growth. This is why there is laser out there that is actually being used to generate stronger, thicker follicles, right, on people's hair. That's actually a treatment, right? And unfortunately, we don't know why. Scientists haven't dug into why it's happening, but there are men and women who are being treated with laser hair removal, and they end up with more hair than they started with. For women, it's on their face and neck predominantly, right? Also, some on their upper body. For men, it's on their upper torso, front, and their back. Why? We still don't know. But it seems to be evident in people who have hormonal imbalances, people who also are taking hormonal supplements. So when I say hormonal imbalances, I mean androgen-related hormonal imbalances, things that cause hirsutism, for example, that occur in those with Cushing's syndrome, that happen with NCAH, that happen with PCOS clients, that happen with certain pituitary tumors, all hormonal imbalance related. Those people are at greater risks. Also, people that are taking hormone supplements. So insert the entire transgender community that decides to take hormonal supplements. Quick disclaimer, right? I believe that laser is capable of doing what it's supposed to do. Laser is meant to reduce the amount of hair that is on the body in the area that it treats. It is successful more than not for many people. But what it's also doing is creating a danger to some people by not informing them thoroughly on the risks of administering this. So while I believe that there is a place for laser in the hair removal industry, I believe that it needs to stay in its lane. It needs to do more studies to identify who is at risk and who is at greater risk than others and why. I also believe that it needs to stop speaking and saying that it is permanent, because it's not. I, as an electrologist, will tell you, if you want your bikini done, if you want your legs done, if you want your underarms done, if you want hair removal in those areas to be permanent, then yes, get electrolysis, but I recommend getting laser first if in fact you are a laser candidate. If you are not a laser candidate, which is those people that I talked about, right? They have a significant amount of foreground background contrast. They don't have hormonal disorders. They aren't taking any medications that are photosensitive, meaning increases the risk of their skin being burned, which are generally antibiotics, right? If you are a laser candidate and you are getting the right laser being used for your skin, then have at it. Go get your underarms treated. Go get your legs treated. Go get your groin treated. But please, 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 no matter who you are, please stay away from your face and your neck. If you are a woman, please stay away from your upper torso, front and back. It is just too much of a risk, in my opinion. And I have a lot of clients that walk into my studio and say, I don't understand why I went and got laser. I had laser growing here on my corners of my chin for years, and I kept plucking and tweezing and waxing and doing all the things, and nothing worked. It just kept coming back in this same area, thicker and stronger, and I hated it. And so then I decided to go get laser. And now that I've gotten laser, this area is lighter, it's thinner. The hair is still there, but the hair is much thinner. And for others, it didn't work at all. However, what is consistent is that now they have hair down their neck, right? And further up their face, because the light that traveled, now remember I mentioned, right? You've got that wand. You've got, the smallest you're going to get is maybe a quarter size, right? And in some cases, that wand is about that big. That is as precise as it can get. So when someone puts a laser and targets it to your chin, that light is going to travel beyond the area being targeted. And when it travels beyond the area being targeted, it's also triggering your vellus, your peach fuzz, right? For some people, to become terminal hairs. And so now you don't just have hair on your chin that's growing thicker than the rest of your hair. Now you have hair down your neck, and now you have hair up your cheek and down your sideburns. That is the risk of getting laser hair removal on your face. I'm not saying don't get laser. I'm saying don't get laser on your face and your upper torso. Unless it is your underarms, right? That's the only thing. And even then, don't look while she's working, because then that's your face, right? The light can turn the other way, block your face while you're getting laser hair removal. I can do this all day, right? And I'm going to be back, and I'm going to talk about a lot more facts and statistics, and bringing in clients and other people who have had these experiences. But what I want you to do is to not take my word for it, right? Take this as I heard this and I want to go check it out for myself. Go and research laser hair removal. Go and research the risks of laser hair removal. Go and research paradoxical hypertrichosis. Go start with my website, bewareoflaser.com, for a couple of reasons. One, it'll get you familiar with the terms and understanding of the spellings so that you can go and research these things on your own. Two, because there is an entire list of studies that are created not by me, by third-party trusted scientific sources that you can read yourself and recognize that the same information that I am pulling from these things, the same stuff that I am deducing, you too will deduce given the information provided. And then take that information and go find some other sources, go ask some other people, watch other YouTube videos Look on other Instagram pages, right? Watch other TikToks and see what other people are saying about this same fact. And then start asking some laser technicians. Ask them, is hair permanent? Is hair removal permanent, or is hair removal temporary? If you go to decide to get laser, arm yourself with a list of questions that you want to see if these people are telling you the truth. After you've done your own research, right? And you've decided for yourself what is and is not the truth, go and ask laser technicians. Walk into a dermatologist's office, an actual doctor who performs this, right? And see what they say to you. Ask them, once I get laser, if I come to you for 6 to 12 sessions, will this be permanent, or will I have to keep coming back? What is the percentage of success? Can laser create increased hair growth? Have you ever heard about paradoxical hypertrichosis? Or telling it to them simply, have you ever heard that laser can create increased hair growth on your face? If they say no and they seem like they're telling the truth and they just don't know what they don't know, maybe you should be educating them. But listen to the answers that they're giving you. And if they're not saying the stuff that you've read over and over and over again, way beyond my website, way beyond this video, then be aware and then beware. This is just for your safety. This is just, life is hard enough, right? We're in this beauty craze, and it is okay if you don't look the way that you feel. But make sure that the steps that you are taking to achieve that goal are responsible. Make sure that they are safe. Make sure that they are the smart thing and the best thing for your individual circumstances. Just because your sister, just because your brother, just because your mother, just because your friend had success in laser, it does not mean that you will have success in laser. You need to sit down and decide who you are, write down all your circumstances and weigh them against all the things that I've told you today, all the things that you've read, all the things that you've researched, all the things that your gut is telling you when you're talking to these professionals. Electrolysis will never do this. Electrolysis takes longer to do. It takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more money up front, it seems, and we can talk about that in a second. What electrolysis will never, ever, ever do is induce hair growth. Electrolysis is very precise. As I mentioned, it targets individual hairs. It does not impact the hairs around it. If those hairs around it need to be impacted, an electrologist must individually address them. It will never cause paradoxical hypertrichosis, right? There are other contraindications of electrolysis. There are other things that you should be looking out for, and we'll talk about that. But today, I want you to understand that there are going to be a lot of people that do not know about electrolysis. Don't be one of them. That there are a lot of people that do and do not know the risks of laser hair removal. Don't be one of them. And once you've educated yourself, pass that information on and let everybody know that you could possibly let know, because it is dangerous. It is like the side effects of drugs that people don't tell you about, because it doesn't affect enough people per certain thresholds for the FDA and the people that are responsible for protecting you. That threshold that they've established, that if anything happens less than that, they're not required to report, right? This is one of those drugs that come up on the screen while you're watching television, and it's all these, this may cause this, and this, and this. Yeah, laser hair removal hasn't gotten there yet, right? For whatever reason, it's not that drug. It's a very different, I'd like to call it a drug, right? And it is one that is not being properly regulated. And as long as laser is not being properly regulated, you are responsible for arming yourselves, arming the people that you love and care about. Heck, you need to arm your enemies with this one too, because these are just not things that you wish on the worst of people. I am Danielle Penn of Electrolysis Beauty Lounge in West Orange. I am here with another series of At the Root of It. I hope that you've taken it away and will at least think about it. Again, bewareoflaser.com is where I would love for you to start. To repeat, I don't hate laser. I don't think that laser is bad. I just think that people that are administering laser are not doing the right things when it comes to the industry. The industry as a whole is not doing the right things. And I just want to tell you what the possibilities are. God bless with that one. Push it forward and pay it forward, and wish you luck. Subscribe for more information on all things hair removal, and we'll talk to you soon.